They have done a block-by-block merchant outreach effort beginning in November, in which they went up and down the entire length of the corridor to engage merchants and talk to them about the project. Again, hear their concerns, get feedback or possible mitigation from them about the project. We think this is important because in order for us to look at our design, how we're going to build out the project, we want to make sure we're getting input from businesses that is integrated into that approach. Okay? So we want to make sure that we're creating a mechanism that allows us to be very specific about what kind of mitigation business owners can expect, what are the impacts on their businesses, what the concerns are, and then have a means in which we can actually implement that during construction so that any contractor who wins the job will know what kinds of mitigation he or she is expected to have in place, and the business owner also knows what should be done on his or her behalf in order to make sure that any disruption to their businesses is limited. Okay, so I'm missing the slide here. What I wanted to share with you is that we did block by block, in this block by block effort in San Antonio and East Lake area, we were able to connect with, I think, a total of, I'm going to say about 55 businesses to get feedback from them, 21 in the East Lake area, and I think it was about 34 in the San Antonio area to hear their concerns about the project. We have a merchant outreach report that we have that looks at all of their concerns and talks about what they think we should do differently about the project. In doing that outreach effort, they came up with some concerns. These are some of the concerns that they expressed, as been mentioned here today. Displacement of parking, blocked driveways during construction, loading zones, pedestrian street safety, and other construction issues like dust and noise and heat. So let me pause and say that there are also a lot of positive feedback that we received as well. Many of the merchants felt this project was good for them, would be good for their businesses in the long term. Felt that the improvement that this would bring was something that would benefit Oakland as a whole, but also their communities. And so, even though recognizing that there would be impacts, looking toward the long-term benefits, I think there was a sense that this was a positive project for the community, recognizing that we do have to manage the mitigation. So these are some of the examples of the mitigations that we received from merchants. Okay? We talked about planning construction around business hours or in such a way that vehicular access to merchant driveways is maintained during construction. Install or expand curb cuts and create additional alternative driveways for merchants located at corner lots, just like this location. Meters and posted time limits be installed along the blocks so that you have less unregulated parking spaces. So what I read in one of the comments was that there is a need for more meters and regulated parking, because without the regulated parking, you would have people who find a parking space would be there for the bulk of the day, which didn't allow other folks to come in and use the space to come in and shop and do business, because folks who just find a parking space and remain there for a long period of time. Okay? So based on the merchant by merchant, block by block outreach, we touched about, I think this number I have in here is a little low. We think we touched about between 15 and 25% of merchants up and down the corridor to again get their concerns and propose mitigations. We were able to create a matrix where we were able to group businesses by type, and also what were the mitigations or concerns based on those individual businesses. So I think the gentleman earlier talked about a automobile business or a auto dependent type business, and those are one of the significant blocks of businesses that we were able to identify, and they were able to link those with common impacts and also common mitigations. So the hope being that by looking at these groups by type, we can identify certain kinds of mitigation up and down the corridor that might be able to meet their needs on a consistent basis, and then apply those up and down the corridor. So if you are an auto-dependent business and you recognize there are certain impacts you're going to have, we will be able to tell you that these are kinds of mitigations you should see and expect during construction on the project, so that the businesses are aware of what they should have. And if those things aren't happening, they have the ability to reach out to the contractor and also AC Transit to make sure we're able to then follow up and take any corrective action needed to make sure that those appropriate mitigations are actually being put in place during construction. And by combining this with a merchant directory, we're creating a directory that lists every merchant up and down the corridor. That will allow us to get in contact with that merchant, engage with them, share information with them, so that they can contact us, we can contact them and let them know when construction is going to happen, what kind of mitigation should be in place, and ahead of time, so that we're aware of what when the construction will occur, and also be able to reach out to us if there's anything they may need during that time frame to make sure that businesses aren't disrupted. So this also allows us to work with, we have established a community outreach working group where there's a couple of people who attend those meetings. Andy and Elizabeth are there. Javier has also attended some of those meetings, as well as Shepherd from Transform has attended those meetings where we are working with community-based organizations to talk about and develop mitigations and outreach strategies for this project. So when we talk about engaging with businesses, this is another avenue in which we are having people come together to help us make sure that we have a broad perspective of what mitigation should be and what ways we can address them as part of this process moving forward. So this is sort of a graphic description of what the result of the merchant outreach plan that was pulled together for us. Basically, what it identifies is different stages of the project, different kinds of activities, how many merchants we think will be touched, who has different kinds of accountability, and how the community, through the community outreach working group, can be involved in helping make sure that we're executing on those things. So from a pre-construction phase where we are right now, the activities that we talked about, merchant directories being developed, we're doing business-to-business outreach that we talked about. We're having community-based organizations meeting as we speak. We've done a walking tour of one of the council districts with one of the council members. That's available to do that with other council members as well. We're looking at the possibility of the city bringing forth some business sustainability programs.
Excuse me, Mr. Rodman.
Yes.
You're at 20 minutes.
Yeah, I'm at 20 minutes already? Okay. Well, let me wrap this up real quick. Give you two more
minutes.
I can do that. So I got my 2 minute warning. So when you look at this list, we're going to touch on the directory. We hope to have all the businesses along the corridor included in the directory. We expect that through the business by business outreach, as I mentioned earlier, we hope to have touch more than 25% of businesses. And through the business sustainability program, that's going to be determined how many merchants get touched in that area. You see where AC Transit has accountability for some things. The city of Oakland has a role to play in partnering with us with some of them. They have some which are primarily in their bucket, like the pre-business or pre-construction business sustainability. Also post-construction, What are some of the supplemental business support that needs to be provided by businesses impacted by the construction of the project? We don't know how many of that will reach. That's the issue about what kind of resources we can bring together to help make that happen. So we look at I want to make sure we talk about the community outreach work and the community in general. They have a role to play in this as well. So as we're doing these things, we are bringing these issues before the community working group. They can give us feedback, are these the right things, or are other things we should be doing? What should we be looking at? When we get to construction, they can help monitor, make sure the mitigations are being put in place, and so forth. So that's kind of the layout of how we hope to make sure we're touching upon the issues of mitigation for business. So these are contact information. Just want to say we have some brochures up here. Feel free to grab these. We have them in English, Spanish, Vietnamese, Chinese. There's contact information here on this block, email address where you can send in an email inquiry. We will respond to it. There's a telephone number on which you can call and leave a verbal message as well. You can do that in any of those languages.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Light. First, I'd like to say there's some new people that came, folks like yours. Who they are.
I'm Manuel Romero, from Romero Glass Studios.
My name is Jose Dorado. I have a tax preparation business up from Vail, one raised.
Thank you, sir. My name is Emma Navarro. I'm coming from Milagro, Mexico.
My name is Carolina Gonzalez, and I'm his daughter.
My name is Sue de La Paz, and I am a business in 2217 International Boulevard.
I'm Suzanne with Eastside Arts and Minds on International. I'm Hannah. My name is Susan Chen, or represent Working Chen Auto Repair. International, 1-800 International. Sir,
I'm sorry,
can you introduce yourself? Sorry.
I'm a basic transit.
Okay. Okay, let me, oh, I'm sorry.
Hello, my name is Beverly Green. I'm from Basic Transit, and my niece went into labor this morning, so I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
Congratulations.
So before I move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the question of emergence, I'm sure a lot of anxiety, a lot of people want to ask questions. But let me do some debate about what you just said during your presentation. Number one, you said that your design to work with emergent at any time. Let me ask you, what have you done besides listening to our concern? Did you do? I understand there are 3 points that you try to say, putting in meters and reduce, work with our construction, work with our hours during the construction frame. But what about the parking lots? What do you do about it? It doesn't, I feel like you should only put the bandage over the problem, and there's no concrete step to create more parking for us. And we already suffering parking here. So to add to the problem with AC transit, I mean with the bus rapid transit system, how are you going to mitigate that problem? It's a permanent and it's real problem that we are facing right now. Also, second,
So the question is really, how much parking lots, where is the parking lot, how much replacement, where is the replacement parking for East Lake and San Antonio?
So, for East Lake and San Antonio, when you look at the impact on the parking and displacement of parking, there's a total of about 600 variety of parking spaces in the two areas. About 100 of those have been impacted by the current design. Let me speak to when you ask a question about what are we doing about parking, what are we doing about business impact.
for East Lake, I'm sorry.
Well, East Lake is part of the big message. What I want to say is that what we are doing right now, having these conversations, is finalizing and developing those actual plans. So when we look at the 65% design, the goal today and future conversations with folks is to get feedback so we take it back. So what may be identified as part of 40% design will be looked at as part of the 65% design. And the feedback we get can influence what that looks like. So currently, there'll be a loss of about 103 parking spaces up and down the corridor. We are adding new parking spaces. One of them on 35th and International, another at Austin and International Boulevard, so those are additional parking spaces. I don't know the exact configuration, so I can't tell you the precise number of new spaces we be added as a result of that. But those are locations where we'll be bringing in additional parking spaces.
So you don't know where the parking will be set up?
Not in detail that I can give you at the moment. We
I
have
can
to
tell you, I'm sorry, I can tell you that I look at the plan and there's no replacement for East Lake or San Antonio, if I'm not mistaken. But I know there's no replacement for East Lake. So that's my concern.
Does anybody else in the room know where the place of parking will be for East Lake?
Yeah.
The last time you said that you're gonna tell us where the parking areas is gonna be. The area that we have, the closest one is like 4 blocks from the area that our business is. So I don't think that it's people walking 4 blocks just to go to buy something for the pharmacy. We have a pharmacy and that's what revenue. So it's not fair for our people that is sick come to the walk blocks just to buy one revenue. So if you can give us exactly the areas, so we can figure out what we can do, or I don't know, but we need that exactly the areas. So it is gonna help us or think what can we do with that. Also, we have delivery of products. We want to know if we are going to have areas to deliver the products. So there is a lot of the stores that we have the same problem. So we want to know about that.
What we hope to do with the loading zone is try to replace the loading zone on a one-by-one basis and try to relocate the loading zone as close to where they previously existed as possible. So the goal is to make sure that we maintain a level of loading zone access, but we will have to move it to a different location. But the goal is to make it as close to where it is currently.
I want to speak to your agenda, but I want to speak before
Okay.
You need to wait your time.
I need to leave by 4:30 for sure.
Okay, so let me say something really quick and then I'll have to turn it over to Councilwoman. Are you sure? Okay, that's fine. We'll stay with the agenda. Let me also say something about, you said that you try to do the average block by block. I personally own the corner lot of 6th Avenue and International. We also have the office on corner of 7th Avenue, and yet I haven't heard. The first time I heard about this project is last week when Javier called me. So, you're not doing a good job, and please, Councilwoman, please make sure that this will not happen again, because many of our merchants in the area got surprised by this. Also, the fact that she owned the grocery store right there across the street, and I know according to the plan that I got from the basic, is that you guys will have a landing there, the bus stop there, right in front of her doors, and yet she doesn't know about that. So that says something a lot about your outreach. It needs to be, you guys really need to do a better job, and I just want to say that please, when you say something, please do it and mean it. Not just saying that so that our community is better. that's what I want to address, you know, today in the meeting. And at the end of the meeting, I would like our councilwoman to please do not vote for the final plan until, you know, AC Transit sit down with us and have a real concrete action, mitigation plan to address all our concerns. Thank you.
Feedback. Answer the first question, we don't know what the special parking will be.
Also, how do you plan to deal with the issue of the right lane for being a loading zone? I own Romero Glass Studios and I get big trucks in my glass. So you know, one of those trucks is going to block completely behind.
So no existing loading. Right.
So I think there needs, there, in that, you know, we're gonna have to look at a number of different things. Because we would have to look at, in terms of, particularly working with, you know, our partners in the city. So what do we do about the fact that folks out in the street unload vehicles? So there's some issues that need to be looked at in that regard, and I think we're gonna have to figure out how we come to some sort of collaborative to answer that question.
I hear that you guys want to make some time after hours for the trucks to be delivering the glass. Our company, my company, they don't work after hours. So there won't be no problem for me to do this. I want to establish too, how you guys going to support the business that they get hurt by your project?
How are you supposed to make
So basically, call the name to.
Yeah, then I think so that our business, when they come in, we just, you know, it depends when the truck, last truck is nobody can drive, you know, nobody wants to drive the international line. Because so traffic, you know, so we are now, on the side and we, it's like 1988, 20 years old, 24, 6 years.
I'm 35 years.
The good business, we make the last job, we did, I think, the job of the trustee, and we make money. And after that, we lose the last of us.
Woodville Lighting is what.
What is it? I'm not sure I understand your question in terms of.
He wants to know what the Fruitvale bypass is.
Anybody from AC Transit is living with the bypass?
The Fruitvale Bypass project is just a reconfiguration of the intersection at
Yeah.
Fruitvale and San Leandro Street to accommodate the traffic modeling with regards to traffic flow through that intersection. It's just the name that we gave to that project. The project is just to reconfigure the intersection, create left turns, left turn lane, and that kind of thing. That's all.
Actually, there are not a business there are not the last people in the bus.
I'm sorry?
It's not the last people in the bus.
So basically, most of our,
It's waste time, waste money.
so in their opinion, most of the local business here are surviving because of the people, automobile industry, and people driving to the area. So when you create a traffic like that, for sure, this entire neighborhood will be changing.
Yes, they're already.
Some business will be shut
down.
down completely.
No business.
And so my question for you, Councilwoman, and for you, AC Transit, what do you do about those businesses that you cannot mitigate the problem, their concern and their problem, we're hurting badly? This is real concern, and yet there hasn't been any answer, concrete answer on what you can do about that.
The first year from AC Transit.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Addressing the parity.
Well, let me start by, you know, I think that, you know, there is, our goal, and I'll, you know, say it again, our goal is to work with the businesses to identify potential mitigations. That's not going to change, and that's what we are here to do. I think we've had 2 community meetings, or we've had 3. 2 of them, I recognize yourself at both of them. So we are certainly, we are hearing your concerns. And so this effort is really designed to identify mitigation. So it would not be beneficial to the goal of identifying mitigations to at this point decide that there aren't mitigations that could potentially help businesses. We believe that there are. We believe in working with the city as partners, the community-based organizations, whether it's BASI, whether it's OSNI, Unity Council, and other businesses involved in that process. We can identify some very significant mitigations that can help businesses sustain themselves through the construction process for the project. So I'm hopeful that in those efforts, we will come up with mitigations for a significant number of the businesses along the border. And that's what we're trying to achieve. So as we have these conversations, we want to make sure, again, we want to hear from the businesses. When we come to these meetings, what do they identify as mitigations? What do they like to see? We show some on the screen. So this is an ongoing process. We're not done with this process. The process is complete, and we will continue to do more to bring more information to the table to help with that.
I'm sorry, let me interrupt this. I promised from the beginning of the meeting that I would not let you.
It's either the claimant or the.
So that's what exactly what.
It's either the.
Sir, I'm sorry, now, concerned and not addressed. This is already, as I understand, you already 65% completion for the design. And I understand if at some point, if you go too far, then we can suggest all we want, but it's not going to change. That's what we are concerned and we worry. That's why we're recording the conversation today, and we want to make sure that your promise will translate into action, and that's.
So as we said earlier, the 65% design for the major construction is not complete. That is scheduled to go before the council in a number of months. So we are here to get information to inform that plan so that your perspectives are included in that discussion and development of the plan.
This is basically what's on the application. Here's an after this, it's post. Benefit from the parking industry, benefit open, benefit AC, but see what's the benefit.
So let me just come back to that again. So the answer to the question, what we do, we can't believe that it's considered business, BC Transit doesn't have a plan for that.
Our plan is to identify mitigations to address the concerns of the impacted businesses.
Right, I mean, you can't do that.
Well, but you're presuming that that's the answer. But
Let's say if
well, I mean, I can't really. I would be. Well, let me just say that our goal is to identify the mitigation. So at this point, you suggest that if we can't, then what will we do? It would be preemptive to do that at this point.
let me just, so we know everyone's process was in the room, that when the 2 people who actually work for AC, 3 people that actually work for AC, just to make sure we know, because Terry's a consultant. So Beverly, you work for AC Transit?
I do, and let me just say that we've been working closely with Terry. He's able to, we meet constantly about what's going on, and we're back in the office trying to figure out how to address things. So he's our right hand.
Mr. Wilkins works for AC Transit. Did you say you're done?
I'm the program director, Andy.
Program,
Yeah.
Clarence Johnson.
Yeah, the immediate affairs manager.
So just returning to, I know you've got to leave at 10:30, I'm gonna give you, make sure you get time. But I just,
I actually want to ask questions very specifically to follow up on your questions.
Okay, okay.
we just have 2 more quick questions, and then we're gonna let you get in. So, Leah, would you, being a
It was from Mina's Kitchen, who wanted to ask a question.
For esse transit for some of us with the next 2 weeks, some of the solutions to part-time voting and other concerns, yes, how
Well, we met with the Community Outreach Working Group last week. We shared our merchant outreach report, gave a summary. It was decided at that point that we would use that document to identify and